once again, Christian greetings to all our valued listeners and viewers throughout the whole world, more particularly to all Shepherd's Rod believers, most especially to our beloved brothers and sisters in the United States of America. Special greetings to our brethren in Colorado and Fiji Island and Africa, United Kingdom, in Spain, Mexico, and to our brethren in Australia, and to all the 144,000 living saints listening and viewing this program. This message is especially dedicated to all the living saints scattered throughout the whole world. Good evening, and may the good Lord bless you, brothers and sisters. This is our episode number 18, the subject, the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9. Now, to continue our subject, let's go back again to the statement in 2SR 162. It says, the cases of all who are sealed from 1929 to the final close of provision will be investigated before the throne in the heavenly sanctuary while living. The investigation commences after the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9. Those who are sealed from 1929 to the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9, close of provision for the church, are living saints, 144,000 in number, who shall never die, translated without tasting death. The class which neglected their opportunity were left without the seal to perish under the ruin of Ezekiel chapter 9. Isaiah 63 and Isaiah 66 verse 15 to verse 17. This example of the destruction of the sinners in the church is a type of the destruction of the sinners in the world after the close of provision. The great multitude of Revelation 7 verse 9, living at the time of the close of provision for the world, shall also never die, of whom the 144,000 were a type. But all the wicked, being left without the seal, shall perish. Hitherto is the end of the matter. Fear God, not man, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. Now, this paragraph, there are a lot of information that have been given unto us that we need to carefully elaborate all the important events mentioned in this reading. I would like to focus first to the statement saying, this example of the destruction of the sinners in the church. Or in other words, let us ascertain clearly that particular event, the destruction of the sinners in the church. So let us read 1 TG number 6 on page 38. It says, it is obvious that they escape the destruction of these sinners in the church. Then it says, only the holy ones, those whose names are left written in the book, escape the destruction that falls upon the wicked in the church. Only they constitute the remnant, the ones that are left. So the statement is very plain that the only ones who shall escape the destruction that will occur in the church are those whose names are left written in the Lamb's book of life. So this statement can be easily discerned that the blotting out of names precede the destruction that will occur in the church. So before such destruction will be executed in the church, all the names of the wicked recorded in the Lamb's book of life must be blotted out first, and only those whose names left written in the Lamb's book of life, they are the only ones that shall be able to escape the destruction that will occur in the church. And according to 1 TG number 11 on page 11, it says, so only those who survive the judgment for the living in the house of God, 1 Peter 4 verse 17, those whose names are not blotted out from the book Revelation 3 verse 5 will comprise the church, among whom are to be 144,000 sons of Jacob. Revelation 7 verse 3 to 8. And when Michael stands up, then those whose names are left in the book will be delivered from the trouble, such as never was. Daniel 12 verse 1. Now let us carefully study the occurrence that takes place in heaven and the occurrence that takes place on earth, as admonished us in tract number 8 on page 5, saying, so correctly to understand this prophetic event in its entirety, we must carefully differentiate the part which takes place in heaven from the part which takes place on earth. Of course, the destruction takes place on earth, but the blotting out of names takes place in heaven. Now, we already read in 1 TG number 6, page 38, that the only ones that will be able to escape the destructions that takes place on the church on earth are they to whom by which such names are left written in the Lamb's book of life, plainly indicating that the blotting out of names in the heavenly sanctuary takes place or precedes before the destruction takes place on the earth in the church. Now, let us go back again to the statement in 2SR, page 164. Now, it says, while the investigation for the congregation of the dead is in progress, there can be no separation among the congregation of the living. 2SR, page 164. Of course, the separation mentioned here is the blotting out of names. So the shepherd's rod is plainly telling us that while the blotting out of names under the congregation among the dead are still unfinished, there can be no blotting out of names among the congregation of the living. Now, let us read again tract number 3 on page 20. It says here, for Christ is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us, according to Hebrews chapter 9, verse 24. Indeed, now once in the end of the world hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself, and as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. Hebrews chapter 9, verse 26 and verse 27, the cleansing of the sanctuary. Daniel 8, verse 14. Plainly, therefore, the judgment is to begin and the sanctuary to be cleansed, not before, but after the fulfillment of the period for those appointed to die, the judging being consistent with the records found in the books of heaven. The names, therefore, of those who are found unworthy without the wedding garment on are blotted from the books. Thus is the sanctuary cleansed. Now, in this reading, tract number 3, page 20, plainly telling us that the cleansing of the sanctuary, both to the commencement and to the end part, it will not begin, not until after the period for those appointed to die. That statement, appointed to die, can only be easily understood that they were judged while living. So, they were judged while living. Now, going first to the commencement of the cleansing of the sanctuary, because our subject is to the commencement, or in other words, to the very first day of atonement, the very first day of blotting out of names, and to the last Day of Atonement, the last day blotting out of names, by which after that Day of Atonement, the books in the heavenly sanctuary are completely cleansed. And that is the statement in tract number 3 on page 73 and page 74. Being the Day of Atonement in type for both the dead and the living, this service of the earthly tabernacle therefore projects the Day of Atonement in its antitype, the cleansing of the sanctuary in heaven from unworthy names in the books, and the cleansing of the church on earth from its unconverted and unstable members, thus bringing the time of clean books, clean church, and clean people. So in this reading alone, it was perfectly arranged in its proper order. The first clean books, then after that clean church, and then clean people. But let us focus first to the very first event to take place, the last and the final Day of Atonement, by which after that Day of Atonement, the books in the heavenly sanctuary are completely cleansed according to the voice of inspiration. Now, since we already read in 1 TG number 6, page 38, that the only ones who will survive or escape the destruction that will take place on the earth in the church are those whose names left written in the book, can be easily understood that the cleansing of the books in the heavenly sanctuary will be completely accomplished, completely finished before such destruction will occur in the church. And the voice of inspiration called it the first aspect of the judgment. Now let us read the statement again in Answerer number 5, page 30. According to Jesus' parable, this work takes place in the time of harvest, the end of the world. Matthew 13, verse 30 and verse 40. And as the congregation of the dead, as well as the congregation of the living, are commingled with the good and the bad, the judgment takes place among both. First among the dead, then among the living. In the judgment, the decision is made as to who are worthy of eternal life and who of eternal death. John chapter 5, verse 28 and verse 29. Who are to come up in the first resurrection, Revelation 20, verse 6, and who in the second. Also, who are to be translated when Jesus comes, 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 16 and 17, and who are to perish at the brightness of his coming, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 8. This is the first aspect of the judgment, and being only a bookwork, Daniel 7, verse 10, a work that does not disturb either the dead in the graves or the living in the church, it takes place in heaven. So, we need to ponder deeply, brothers and sisters, this very important event. To repeat again, brothers and sisters, the voice of inspiration is plainly telling us that the first aspect of the judgment is bookwork, takes place in the heavenly sanctuary. And that judgment that takes place in the heavenly sanctuary is the judgment in the holy place, the blotting out of names. And that event, the final Day of Atonement, takes place before such destruction will occur in the church. So that is very plain in that reading. Now, I would like to read, I think, Old Symbolic Code. Then we'll go back to SR 162. Now, let us go to the Old Symbolic Code. Here in 2 Symbolic Code, number 11 on page 6. If the investigative judgment for the living does not begin till after Ezekiel 9, please tell me when the tares in the Seventh-day Adventist Church are judged, for they are living when the sealing message comes. So, let us read the answer. It says, answer. We have no special light on this question, other than that the judgment of the living begins after the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. Now notice the question is judgment for the living. And the prophet says that they have no special light concerning the question. Judgment for the living. Let us be a careful Bible student. Let us distinctly separate judgment for the living and judgment of the living. Because judgment for the living, that is the proceedings in the holy place, blotting out of names. But if you will say judgment of the living, that is blotting out of sins. So that is blotting out of sins. So let us distinctly separate. To repeat again, judgment of the living, if the preposition is of, that is blotting out of sins. But if the preposition used is for, judgment for the living, that is blotting out of names. So that is distinct and separate event. And the question here is concerning the judgment for the living. And the prophet declared clearly that he has no special light concerning the question about the judgment for the living. So the only light that was given by God to Beti-Hotep is concerning the judgment of the living, by which the prophet says, we have no special light on this question, other than that the judgment of the living begins after the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. The judgment of the living is blotting out of sins. And the blotting out of sins, according to this reading, takes place after the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. So we need to study now closely. If we could be able to ascertain clearly when would be the blotting out of sins of the 144,000, then prior to that blotting out of sins, there must be slaughtering. Because the voice of inspiration says that the judgment of the living takes place after the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. Now let me read to you first that judgment of the living is blotting out of sins. Now, let us read this statement here. Then we will go back to this reading. One symbolic code, number 16, page 3. Malachi 3 first applies as a type to the purification of the earthly temple in the days of Christ, John 2 verse 14 and 15. But the direct application finds its fulfillment in the antitype, that is, in the purification of the church when he comes to his earthly temple, the church, to purify the sons of Levi, the ministry, the 144,000. Then it says, after this, he comes for the investigative judgment of the living to his heavenly temple to blot out their sins. So what is judgment of the living? To blot out the sins of the 144,000. So in order to get the full beam of light concerning this very critical event that will soon to take place, let us carefully differentiate the occurrence of the one and the other. To repeat again, investigative judgment of the living, that is blotting out of sins in the heavenly sanctuary. Now, the shepherd's rod plainly declared that the blotting out of sins takes place after the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. Now, here's another statement in symbolic code, 12 symbolic code. Number 3 on page 21. So let us read the statement. You will find that the message consistently teaches that the judgment of the living has not yet commenced, that we are still living in the time of the judgment of the dead, and that the slaughter of Ezekiel 9 is what marks the judgment passing from the dead to the living. Then it says, the commencement of the judgment of the dead was marked by lightnings and thunderings and voices. Revelation 4 verse 5. Whereas the commencement of the sanctuary phase of the judgment of the living is marked by voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. Revelation 8 verse 5, the Shepherd's Rod, volume 2, page 220 and 221, and track number 15, page 64. As to the time of the commencement of the judgment of the living, see the answer, book number 1, pages 94 and 95, and the Shepherd's Rod, volume 2, page 220, which says, when the seal is opened and the judgment of the living begins, we must know it. The date of that glorious event will be made known at the fulfillment of Revelation chapter 8, verse 5. Now, let us focus first to the statement that the judgment, the investigative judgment of the living takes place after the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. And the slaughter of Ezekiel 9 is what marks the judgment passing from the dead to the living. 12 Symbolic Code number 3, page 21. So, and here's another statement I would like to think still in 12 Symbolic Code. 12 Symbolic Code number 3, page 19 and 20. The judgment of the living on earth commences with Ezekiel 9, but in heaven, in the books after Ezekiel 9. 12 Symbolic Code number 3, page 19 and page 20. So let us distinctly separate the judgment of the living that takes place on earth, because commences with Ezekiel 9. That is with Ezekiel 9. Or in our reading, I would like to go back again to the reading in the Old Symbolic Code to remind us that the judgment of the living precedes, the judgment of the living on earth precede the investigative judgment of the living in the heavenly sanctuary. Now let us read 1 Symbolic Code number 16, page 3. It says, let's read again. Malachi 3 first applies as a type of the purification of the earthly temple in the days of Christ, John 2 verse 14 and 15. But the direct application finds its fulfillment in the antitype, that is, in the purification of the church when he comes to his earthly temple, the church, to purify the sons of Levi, the ministry, the 144,000. Then he says, after this, he comes for the investigative judgment of the living to his heavenly temple to blot out their sins. 1 Symbolic Code number 16, page 3. So the statement after this plainly indicating that the investigative judgment of the living that takes place on earth precedes the investigative judgment of the living that takes place in heaven. Now, I would like to read 2SR page 171. It says, the sealing of the 144,000 is at the closing of the judgment of the dead and at the beginning of the judgment of the living. Now, the judgment of the living mentioned here cannot be in the heavenly sanctuary, because this judgment of the living is the period of the sealing of the 144,000. I would like to repeat again so that you could understand. The statement is very plain. The sealing of the 144,000 takes place at the beginning of the judgment of the living. The judgment of the living is divided into two sections or two places. Judgment of the living on earth and judgment of the living in the heavenly sanctuary. And also judgment of the living is in two phases. Judgment of the living to the first fruits and judgment of the living to the second fruits. Hope that I could help all my beloved brothers and sisters who are listening this message, and I will try my best that I could be able to explain it in more comprehensible manner. But I will try to provide a little board so that I can illustrate our study more vividly. Now to repeat again, brothers and sisters, judgment of the living. Let us distinctly separate the judgment for the living and the judgment of the living. The preposition for and the preposition of. The preposition of, when it is applied to the heavenly sanctuary, that is blotting out of sins. The preposition for, when it is applied to the heavenly sanctuary, that is blotting out of names. So hope that we could understand that clearly, brothers and sisters. And concerning blotting out of names, the proceedings is in the holy place. Concerning blotting out of sins, the proceedings is in the most holy place. Now let us focus first, judgment of the living. We already read in 1 Symbolic Code, number 16, page 3, that the judgment of the living on earth precedes the judgment of the living in the heavenly sanctuary. What is the judgment of the living in the heavenly sanctuary? Blotting out of sins. 1 Symbolic Code, number 16, page 3. What is the judgment of the living on the earthly sanctuary? Sealing of the 144,000. So during the sealing of the 144,000, that is the period called judgment of the living on the earthly sanctuary, sealing of the 144,000. And perfectly corroborating to that statement that the investigative judgment of the living on earth, it says, commences with Ezekiel 9. Now let us read again the statement in 12 Symbolic Code number 3, pages 19, page 20. The judgment of the living on earth commences with Ezekiel 9, but in heaven, in the books, that is blotting out of sins, judgment of the living, after Ezekiel 9. The judgment of the living is in two phases. The first phase is a separation that takes away the wicked from among the righteous, Ezekiel 9. But the separation also is in two sections. The first section of separation, it is the wicked that had been taken out among the righteous. But the second section, it is the righteous that had been taken out from among the wicked. So we need to be very careful, brothers and sisters. Now let us continue reading. It says, the first phase is a separation that takes away the wicked from among the righteous, Ezekiel 9. But we already explained that the first phase pointing to Ezekiel 9, which pointing to the occurrence on the earth, at the same time divided into two sections, or in other words, the first phase, which is a separation, brothers and sisters, is also divided into two sections. The first section is, it is the wicked that had been taken out. But the second section, it is the righteous that had been taken out. So, hope that, I know, if we will continue, the more we repeat these occurrences, it will become more clearer and clearer. And to help us more clarified, I know it is in absolute necessity that if possible we could be able to provide a visual aid so that we could understand this subject more clearly. The first phase is a separation that takes away the wicked from among the righteous, Ezekiel 9. And this first phase, which is the first section, of course, must be applied only to the triumphant church. Because in the militant churches, it is opposite. The righteous will be taken out from among them and they will be brought into the purified church. But before the second section of separation takes place, God will purify first the sons of Levi. God will purify first the triumphant church. All the wicked must be taken out from among them. And at the time when all the wicked were taken out from among them, then commenced the second section of separation. What is the second section? It is the righteous that had been taken out from among the militant churches. In the world, or sometimes called Babylon, the only separation that will take place is the second section. The righteous will be taken out. But in the church, there are two sections. The first section is applied to the triumphant church. The second section is applied to the militant church. And still, it is Ezekiel 9. For example, I would like to read first this reading in 1SR on page 27. It says, it is positive that the sealing of the 144,000 is Ezekiel 9. So it is perfectly corroborating towards the statement in 12 Symbolic Code number 3, page 19, that the investigative judgment of the living on earth commences with Ezekiel 9. So the same with this statement in 1SR page 27 saying, it is positive that the sealing of the 144,000 is Ezekiel 9. Ezekiel 9, there are 11 verses, right? But there are many occurrences in Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 1 to verse 11. For example, beginning from verse 1, they came from the higher gate in the north side. We know that that is the third heaven, the place of our Almighty Father. So these 6 angels cometh from the third heaven and then descend to the earth, right? That is the very first occurrence in Ezekiel chapter 9. But the 5 angels stationed first. They stationed in the second heaven while the man with the writer inkhorn descend from third heaven to the second heaven, first heaven, down to the earth to seal the 144,000. Not until the divine command given to the 5 angels, follow him. So from second heaven, then they continually descend after they are being commanded to follow the man with the writer inkhorn. So, in other words, brothers and sisters, the term Ezekiel 9 is pointing to all the occurrences from verse 1 to verse 11. And we know verse 11, that is the first report. So, it is very important to understand the whole chapter of Ezekiel 9. Because Ezekiel 9 does not refer to slaughtering alone. there are many occurrences recorded on the 11 verses of Ezekiel chapter 9. But here we focus first to the sealing of the 144,000. Do not forget, brethren, that the sealing cannot begin not until the man with the writer inkhorn arrived. But that is the second section of the sealing. The sealing of the living saints is in two sections. First, sealing message, and then the sealing angel. So, what we are trying to ascertain clearly first is this, as I've stated before, the term great and dreadful day of the Lord is even more pointing to that spiritual side, the occurrences that takes place in heaven, the blotting out of names. That is dreadful to all of them whose names that had been blotted out, because they were already destined for destruction. But it is great to all of them whose names had been left written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Their name had been retained during the Day of Atonement, the final Day of Atonement, by which all the names in the congregation among the living, all unworthy names, must be blotted out. God is a God of justice. First of all, we need to ever remember that the desire of God, if possible, all men will be saved. I think that is in 1 Timothy 2, verse 3 and 4. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. That is the desire of God, that all men will be saved. And in Ezekiel 33, verse 11, God has no pleasure to the death of the wicked. Or in Desire of Ages, 581, saying that destruction, the work of destruction, is a strange work. The term strange work, meaning God has no pleasure to destroy humanity, because He is the one who created us. But the absolute fact is that God cannot save anyone who will not follow the plan of salvation that laid down by God. That's why I remember the statement in Testimonies for the Church, volume 2, page 445. It says, I have tried in the fear of God to set before His people their danger and their sins, and have endeavored to the best of my feeble powers to arouse them. I have stated startling things, which if they had believed, would have caused them distress and terror, and lead them to zeal in repenting of their sins and iniquities. I have stated before them that from what was shown me, but a small number of those now professing to believe the truth would eventually be saved, not because they could not be saved, but because they would not be saved in God's own appointed way. So that is the only reason why, brothers and sisters, that there are many people fail to obtain everlasting life because they don't want to follow God's appointed way of salvation. In Testimonies for the Church, volume 1, 533, it says, at Rochester, New York, December 25, 1865, I was shown many things concerning the people of God in connection with this work for these last days. I saw that many professed Sabbath keepers will come short of everlasting life. So many Sabbath keepers will come short of everlasting life. Testimonies for the Church, volume 1, page 533. Now, here in 2SR, I would like to read that statement. 2SR, page 238, it says, here we see another type. God's truth to the world before the Bible came coincides with His truth in the time of the Bible, showing that God has but one truth, one Christ, and one gospel in all ages. Therefore, the idea taught by self-styled ministers of the gospel, that God had one method of saving people before the Bible came into existence, another in the Old Testament time, with the descendants of Abraham, and still another for the New and the Gentiles, etc., is a deception of the devil, and there is no truth in it. Not only the things written prove the truth and exposes the error, but even common reasoning tells us there can be no justice in such an ever-changing method of salvation. For I am the Lord, I change not. So there must be only one method employed by God how to obtain eternal life or everlasting life, brothers and sisters. The same with the statement in 2TG 39 on page 6. it says, so far in our study, we have seen that God is impartial, that He has endeavored to save all peoples at all times in the same way as He is endeavoring to save us, that He is not experimenting with Himself, not saving us one way and others another way. 2 TG 39:6. And that one method of salvation, brothers and sisters, is illustrated in the subject of the seven seals. That the only method of salvation that God employ to all humanity is that through the acceptance of the present truth revealed in every generation, brothers and sisters, the only way that we could obtain salvation. Now here in 2SR page 198, let's read again here. The seven lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the seven spirits of God. Revelation 4 verse 5. The lamps of fire, seven in number, present before the throne, represent completeness of the truth of God. Present truth revealed to every generation since the world began, by which we are judged. Those who are obedient to all the light and truth given them have come up to the requirements. They are sealed and cleared from the condemnation of the law of God. I remember the statement in Bible commentary. Let me show to you. In 7 BC, it says here, the spirit prophecy, plainly telling here, brothers and sisters, the seal of the living God is to serve as our passport. Now, I would like to read Bible commentary 7 BC 969. It says, the Lord would teach man the lesson that though united in church capacity, he is not saved until the seal of God is placed upon him. Now, I would like to read again. The Lord would teach man the lesson that though united in church capacity, he is not saved until the seal of God is placed upon him. In 970, it says, passport to the holy city. Only those who receive the seal of the living God will have the passport through the gates of the holy city. I would like to read again, 7 BC 970. Passport to the holy city. Only those who receive the seal of the living God will have the passport through the gates of the holy city. In the shepherd's rod, declared clearly that the only ones who are permitted to enter into the most holy place in the presence of God the Father are those who have the seal of the living God. So here in 2SR 184, it says, the virgins were called to meet him and thus by faith go in with him to appear before the Father, the great judge. The seal is the permit. It places their names in the Lamb's Book of Life, and thus it grants to them the right to appear before the Father in the judgment, not in person, but in figure, thus having their sins blotted out. 2SR 184. Or in other words, the only sins by which to be blotted out in the most holy place are only those who obtain the seal of the living God, because that is their only permit that they are allowed to enter therein, not bodily but in figure, meaning having their sins blotted out. 2SR 184. So, to repeat again, brothers and sisters, there is only one method employed by God to save humanity, and that is to obtain the seal of the living God. And there is no other way that you could obtain the seal of the living God except by accepting the present truth. And here in 1SR page 28, let us read again the statement. It says, according to these scriptures, which are plainly stated, we must conclude that the saints of God are sealed with present truth in all ages, and what whatever that present truth is, that is the seal. I would like to read again in 1SR page 28 that it says, according to these scriptures, which are plainly stated, we must conclude that the saints of God are sealed with present truth in all ages, and whatever that present truth is, that is the seal. But we studied several times that the seventh sealing period, being the last, must concern the living. 2SR 202. But the seventh sealing period, being the last, must concern the living. Therefore, there must be a definite present truth which is intended to the saints that will no longer to taste death. And for sure, the one who will proclaim that message must be antitypical Elijah the Tishbite. And 100% his message must be the shepherd's rod. Because according to this reading in the Old Symbolic Code, one symbolic code, number 9, page 9, it says, moreover, as the shepherd's rod is the Elijah message, EM 475, it is impossible for anyone who accepts it and leaves it to die, for the type demands translation. Thus it is that Elijah stands as a type of the 144,000, Desire of Ages 421. So there is no other message that antitypical Elijah the Tishbite shall proclaim except the shepherd's rod message. He will never teach anything except the shepherd's rod message, because the shepherd's rod is the Elijah message. That is very plain, brothers and sisters, that you cannot hear from him any message other than the message that was recorded in the shepherd's rod. And that is the present truth under the seventh seal, brothers and sisters, by which that present truth under the seventh seal is no longer to seal God's people for a promise of resurrection, but rather to seal God's people for translation. They will no longer to taste death. So the statement in 2SR 164 saying, but when our high priest shall begin the atonement for the living, so it is judgment for the living. As a matter of fact, the statement in the upper part saying, while the investigation for the congregation of the dead is in progress, there can be no separation among the congregation of the living. Can be easily understood that when the blotting out of names among the congregation of the dead is finished, then the blotting out of names among the congregation of the living must begin. And then it says, but when our high priest shall begin the atonement for the living, this is blotting out of names. There must be a message of present truth, sounding of the trumpet, urging everyone to lay hold on the Lamb of God, Jesus Christ, by which only can he in figure come to the sanctuary, confess his sin, and secure his life. Unless the close of the judgment for the dead and the commencement for the living be made known to us, we would have no present truth while the judgment for the living is in session. Now this is the question. When the judgment for the living is in session, is it provisionary time or is it close of provision? Now let us read the statement here in 2SR page 219. It says, while the judgment for the living is in progress, every sin must be confessed and put away. He who would neglect this great privilege will find himself involved in everlasting ruin, cut off from among his people. Ignoring this most vital subject would not profit us in the least. 2SR 219, the shepherd's rod says this is the most vital subject, meaning very important to understand, to know when the judgment for the living begins. And several times we read, brothers and sisters, here in 2SR page 220, it says, is there any way whereby we can determine the time of the opening of the seal and the commencement of the judgment for the living? If God so faithfully revealed to the living the commencement of the judgment for the dead, it cannot be possible that He would keep secret the time of the judgment for the living. If He did, we would have no present truth in the time of the last seal. Neither could there be justice in such secrecy, nor could such judgment be legal. Therefore, a revelation of the judgment for the living is of as great importance as the revelation of the gospel itself. Then it says, for the judgment, blotting out the sins, is the crowning act in the gospel of Christ. Thus we conclude that when the seal is open and the judgment for the living begins, we must know it. The Day of Atonement in its type proves the same. For the Israelites were well informed of the event, their duty, and the consequence. 2SR page 220. But brothers and sisters, you need to ponder deeply this very important event, brothers and sisters. And to repeat again, it was graciously given unto us by our Almighty God. The information of this coming Day of Atonement, last and the final Day of Atonement, which is the blotting out of names among the congregation of the living. Because the blotting out of names among the congregation to the saints that are destined to die and then be resurrected was already finished the last Day of Atonement. Last Day of Atonement is in the Bible calendar, that is October 10, 2021. It was already finished. That is Bible calendar. And that is why very important that we have clear knowledge and clear conception. When does October 10, 2021 fall on the Gregorian calendar? But since that is not our subject, but it was already finished. It was already in the past. The Day of Atonement. This coming Day of Atonement is in the Bible calendar. It is October 10, 2022. And this October 10, 2022, that is the final and the Day of Atonement, the blotting out of names. And from this time, more or less, there were only remaining at least 6 or 7 months, brothers and sisters, to that coming Day of Atonement, the blotting out of names. Now, remember, brethren, the shepherd's rod is very plain here in 2SR 164. I would like to read to you. And remember, the only way that you can rest assured that your names will be remain, not to be blotted out in the Lamb's Book of Life, is the acceptance of the present truth. Because that is the only method that God employed to save humanity. The only thing is that the present truth under the 7th seal is not the present truth under the 6th seal. So let us distinctly separate the present truth that intended to the saints who are destined to die and the present truth to the saints that will no longer to taste death. And this is the very message that you are listening. The knowledge concerning the commencement of the judgment for the living is in itself constitute the present truth under the 7th seal. Now let us read again the statement here in 2SR page 164. It says, but when our high priest shall begin the atonement for the living, there must be a message of present truth, sounding of the trumpet, urging everyone to lay hold on the Lamb of God, which is Jesus Christ, by which only can he in figure come to the sanctuary, confess his sin, and secure his life. Now, it is very important to study the subject concerning the sanctuary or the daily and the sanctuary. Because there is a sanctuary that had been trodden underfoot in Daniel 8 verse 11 and 12. By which, if that is the sanctuary by which you confess your sin, brothers and sisters, the one sitting on the throne of that sanctuary is the devil. So, that is why very important to study the prophecy. Because there is a counterfeit sanctuary. Although, in reality, the term counterfeit I think is even more appropriate to use the term, the sanctuary which is of God but had been defeated by the devil. Because that is the vision that was shown by God to Daniel. And we will discuss that on the subject, the daily and the sanctuary. But at this time, I'm trying to emphasize the chronological order of events, brothers and sisters. But I will not weary to remind always that we are now in the period of time, whether you will accept this message or whether you will reject this message. Our eternal destiny hangs how we treat the present truth, brothers and sisters. Do not forget the statement in 1 TG that, for example, B.T. Hotep says in 1 TG number 12, that the experience of the antediluvian world would serve as a reminder to us. 1 TG number 12, page 28. The antediluvian's experience should serve as a reminder to us that we be not presumptuous as were they. We should instead take to heart the clear warning that is pertinent to this hour. The clear warning that pertinent to this hour, this very year, is the blotting out of names, brothers and sisters. And it says, for we are told that as it was in the days of the flood, so shall it be at the time of the Lord's coming. What Lord's coming mentioned here in 1 TG number 12, page 28? The same 1 TG number 12, page 26. The coming mention is the blotting out of names. It says here, Zechariah's coming of the Lord, therefore, is the same as Michael standing to deliver all those whose names are written in the book. Daniel 12, verse 1. Ever remember that the books are open and examined during the judgment day. Daniel 7, verse 10. That our names be found in that book should now be the most absorbing concern of each of us. So the coming mentioned there is the coming of Jesus Christ, brothers and sisters, to that proceedings, blotting out of names. And that is the very present truth this very year. Remember, the Shepherd's Rod says in 1 TG number 50, page 15, that it says, but all perish as fools only because they had failed to give heed to present truth, had failed to feed on meat in due season. What folly, what disaster. Brethren, to repeat again and again, the voice of inspiration says in 2SR 218, it is the reception or rejection of the message that will fix the destiny of the two classes. It is the reception or rejection of the message that will fix the destiny of the two classes. And this is the commencement that God is pleading with all flesh. That pleading begins to the sealing of the 144,000. It says here in the old symbolic code, one symbolic code number 16, page 3, this question is answered by Isaiah 66, verse 16. For thereto is stated that he will plead with all flesh. And the September number of the code, page 7, proves that the Lord begins to plead with all flesh in the proclamation of the sealing message and the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9 in the church. So the commencement of that predicted event that God is begun to plead with all flesh is the commencement of the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9. And it was illustrated according to the old symbolic code. Let me read to you. Here in the old symbolic code, to symbolic code number 11, page 8, saying, this experience will awaken them as if startled out of their dreams and will enable them to receive the power of the Spirit and to put on the beautiful garments of Christ's righteousness, which gift by the prophet's pleading, he is urging us to receive, as illustrated in Isaiah 52, verse 1. However, no one with prejudice and self-confidence can ever come to the knowledge of the truth. To symbolic code number 11 on page 8. So the very message that you are listening every now and then is illustrated that Christ is pleading to all the 144,000 living saints to respond to this call. So here in 2SR 164, let us read again the statement. But when our high priest shall begin the atonement for the living, there must be a message of present truth, sounding of the trumpet. We know trumpet indicates broadcasting a message. Here in 2TG number 13, on page 9, it says, the term trumpet is significant of broadcasting a message. 2TG number 13, page 9. So the term trumpet meaning broadcasting a message. And it is even more definitely applied to the judgment that pertains to the living, signifying that the third angel is flying in the midst of heaven. In Revelation 14, verse 9 to 12. And again, the statement, John Conference Special, page 39, that the three angels' messages is applied in the judgment that pertains to the dead only indirectly, but the direct application is in the judgment that pertains to the living. Because the angel, the messenger, is not sent to explain the judgment, what to do to the dead, but what it is to do to the living. And on the last part of General Conference Special, page 39 and 40, saying that the more we consider, the more it become obvious that the third angel's message on its final phase is the judgment for the living, the harvest. And it is antitypical Elijah the Tishbite that shall explain the judgment for the living, according to that reading. And since the shepherd's rod plainly told us, I will no longer be reading, but because we read that several times in 2SR 229 and White House Recruiter, page 36, that it is God, our Almighty God, who inspired this modern science, this modern technology, that we could communicate from one nation to another nation very fast, because it is the appointed medium that God had chosen to finish the work and cut it short in righteousness. It is one of the significant, or the that statement saying that God will finish the work out of common order of things, in Testimonies to Ministers, page 300. Out of common order of things. Because the common order of things is traveling from place to place, and then you will gather people and have Bible study or make a crusade. That is the common order of things. But God will no longer use that method, brothers and sisters, or the appointed method that God will use. Although you can, we can conduct lecture or conduct crusade, but that is not the major method that God will employ in the 11th hour gospel proclamation, as stated in 2SR 229 and White House Recruiter, page 36. It is through the internet. And that is the reason why 1,000 years ago, it was already recorded in Revelation 14 that the message of the third angel is flying in the midst of heaven. And the fulfillment of that is found in the judgment of the living, because according to 1SR, it says here, let us read the statement. In the shepherd's rod, in 1SR, on page 15, it says, the three angels of Revelation 14 are flying in the midst of heaven, or where the sun stands at noon. 1SR, page 15, it says, the three angels of Revelation 14 are flying in the midst of heaven, or where the sun stands at noon. So 12 noon, brothers and sisters, when the sun is in full strength. So it is primarily applied in the days of Sister White, the proclamation of the third angel in the judgment that pertains to the dead, because in the parabolical hour, it is 3 p.m. in our modern time piece of clock, and that is the 9th hour in the old time piece of clock. But the perfect fulfillment of the third angel, it must be 12 noon, represented by the woman. woman clothed with the sun, indicating that that is 12 noon. So the significance is that that church, that woman, the sun represent the entire plan of redemption. Being clothed, meaning it was bestowed unto that woman, unto the church, and for sure that is the living church represented by the 11th hour movement according to 1SR Packet Edition, page 58, and also White House Recruiter, page 61 and page 62. That is the 11th hour movement, brothers and sisters, the last and the final movement, represented by the woman, the last generation of men, in Early Writings, page 143. And one of the most important message that had been bestowed by God into that people is concerning the commencement of the judgment for the living, by which the commencement of the judgment for the living is the final day of atonement that pertains to the congregation of the living, the blotting out of names. And this is the very statement that we are reading in 2SR 164, that when our high priest shall begin the atonement for the living, there must be a message of present truth. And one of the message that constitute that present truth is the knowledge when the judgment for the dead close, and the knowledge when the judgment for the living begins. For the statement says, unless the close of the judgment for the dead and the commencement for the living be made known to us, we would have no present truth while the judgment for the living is in session. The word unless meaning except, brothers and sisters, but it was already guaranteed in the upper statement or the previous sentence, saying, but when our high priest shall begin the atonement for the living, there must be message of present truth. In absolute necessity, in absolute importance, that Jesus Christ will not begin such proceeding, blotting out of names among the congregation of the living, without first informing them that they are now the very ones, or the cases that are now considered in the heavenly sanctuary is their own cases. If you still remember, I would like to remind again, because we take this portion in our previous episodes. The dream of Jacob, Genesis 28 verse 12 to 15. That dream of Jacob is the same with the prophecy in Hosea 2 verse 21. The same with Isaiah 66 verse 1. And the same with the words of Jesus Christ in John 1 verse 51. The same with Ezekiel chapter 1. And the same with the vision of Sister White in Early Writings 277. And those statements is taken from the Shepherd's Rod, right? 1SR Packet Edition 3334, 1SR page 60 and 61, 2SR 266, Patriarchs and Prophets 184, then the Great Controversy page 512, and with all others, brothers and sisters. And also track number 4, page 48, that accordingly, it points out to the event when the angel descending and some angel ascending. That is the event after or immediately after Jesus Christ pronounced the irrevocable decision in the heavenly sanctuary. And remember that irrevocable decision will be pronounced while the saints are still in their mortal state. And hoping that you are remembering all the subjects that we studied, that at the time when the 144,000 will be sealed, indicates immortality is granted to them. So in other words, that statement that the irrevocable decision will be pronounced in the heavenly sanctuary while the righteous are still in their mortal state, that is the period of time by which whether resurrected saints or translated saints, immortality was not yet granted to them. But we know in Matthew 20, it is the 144,000 living saints, the very first one to be granted immortality. But it is pointing from 1844 onwards, not 1844 backwards. Because if you will apply that 1844 backwards, it is no longer reality, because there are many that had been granted immortality even before the 144,000 living saints were even born. But it is pertaining to the proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary that the arrangement of the proceedings is 5, because Matthew 20, there are 5 distinct calls, illustrating illustrating the proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary. And it is categorized by resurrection. We have the first general resurrection, the very first that have been considered in the heavenly sanctuary. Then second, those who will be resurrected in Ezekiel 37. Then the next is Isaiah 57:1. The next is Revelation 14:13. And the last one is the 144,000 living saints. That after their cases had been considered in the heavenly sanctuary, before these four had been granted immortality, because to grant immortality to the saints who are already dead is to resurrect them. Resurrection is the actual granting their rewards. That at the time that they will be resurrected, immortality were granted to them. But before they will be resurrected, as illustrated in the parable in Matthew 20, the 144,000 living saints will be the first one to be granted immortality. Let's read 1 TG. 1 TG 42, page 8. The word behold suggests that we should now take notice and be able to see that our salvation cometh, and that while his reward is with him, his work is still before him. What is his reward? What else could it be but life forevermore? So it shall be that the first fruits, the 144,000, the servants of God who are soon to stand on Mount Zion with the Lamb, shall be the first to be rewarded. As servants of God, they shall carry on the work that is before him, the work of gathering the second fruits, as set forth by Isaiah the prophet. 1 TG 42, page 8. So the very first one to be granted immortality is the 144,000 living saints. The same with the statement in 2SR page 235. Why were the first paid last and the last first? Answer. The pay God's servants receive is eternal life and is characterized by the penny. Therefore, those who are granted the assurance of a never-ending life first are those who were hired last. And according to the parable, it was the company called at the 11th hour. They are those who are marked or sealed by the man with the writer's inkhorn of Ezekiel 9, or as John calls him, the angel with the seal of God, and is sealed or marked 144,000. This glorious company is the first who are granted the assurance of never tasting death. 2SR page 235. So, brothers and sisters, to repeat again, this is a very important subject concerning the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9. But we could never be able to comprehend that important subject in its entirety unless we connect to the entire subjects that had been explained by the Shepherd's Rod publications. So, to repeat again, brothers and sisters, let us distinctly separate the proceedings in the holy place and the proceedings in the most holy place. Let us distinctly separate the preposition of and the preposition for. Judgment for the living, judgment of the living. Let us distinctly separate the occurrence that takes place in heaven and the occurrence that takes place on earth. Only in that way that we could be able to understand the prophetic event on its entirety, not to confuse the one with the other. But the most important part at this time, brothers and sisters, is that be certain, brothers and sisters, that your name will be left written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Be certain that your name will not be blotted out. And to repeat again, brothers and sisters, the only way that you can rest assured that your name written in the Lamb's Book of Life is to have the present truth. To have the present truth. And we should not be proud, brothers and sisters, or in other words, let us cease fooling our own selves. It is high time now, brothers and sisters, we need to face the reality. Because to flatter ourselves is only to work against our own eternal welfare. It's high time now to sit down, ponder deeply, and study closely, and ask ourselves and pray to God, does the present truth under the seventh seal, to seal the 144,000 living saints, are bestowed unto us? Thus the present truth under the seventh seal, when the judgment for the living is in session, is bestowed with such movement by which we belong. Because the shepherd's rod declared clearly in track number 14 that if you want to make sure of your salvation, here in track number 14, page 22, it says, here in prophetic utterance is not only a promise to purify the church with modern Assyria is being crushed, but also a suggestive statement as to what constitute meat in due season for men today and as to what movement they are to enlist in if they would make sure of salvation. Track number 14, page 22. You want to make sure of your salvation? Now, ascertain clearly the movement by which you belong. And since the shepherd's rod plainly told us that the only movement that we need to join is the movement where the present truth had been bestowed by God. That is the only unmistakable evidence, the strongest proof that cannot be denied. Brothers and sisters, the mere fact that in the Bible there is a predicted event by which there are many of them who will say, Lord, Lord, we prophesied through your name, we teach through your name, but Jesus Christ says, I never know you. So it is not important, brothers and sisters, that we will shout and prove that we are the true movement. But rather, the most important, does Jesus Christ claim or recognize us as His movement? And the only positive proofs that we can rest assured that the movement by which we belong is the movement recognized by Jesus Christ as He is. It is because of present truth. Because in 11 Symbolic Code number 3, page 5, present truth comes only from God. And Jesus Christ will not deposit, will not entrust His present truth to a movement by which Jesus Christ do not recognize such movement as His movement. So it is foolishness, brothers and sisters, and not only foolishness, but it shows total blindness to declare that we are God's true movement, by which in reality we are destitute of the present truth under the seventh seal. We have no knowledge concerning the occurrences that takes place in the heavenly sanctuary. May the good Lord bless you, brethren. We love you, brothers and sisters, and hoping to see you in God's kingdom. We will continue this subject, this very important subject, the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9, and also, I will try my best that gradually we could be able to produce such visual aids to make the subject more easier to comprehend. Thank you very much for listening and viewing this program. May the good Lord bless you and have a beautiful, wonderful evening.